Mention that you can check out all the movies that we talked about today on our website at govideogainesville.com. Also, we'd love to get your feedback. Email us at govideogainesville@gmail.com. Or you can send us a letter at 5221 Northwest 43rd Street, Gainesville, Florida 32606. That's our store, Go Video. Go ahead and address it to Go Video. We would love to hear what you have to say about our show.
We're also available on Twitter. Get at NATEFLIX at Twitter. Also on Facebook, Go Video Gainesville has a Facebook page. NATEFLIX has a Facebook page as well. So there are several different ways. We'd love to get your feedback. We'd love to hear what you would like to hear about. Well, sort of as a general topic, a fuel for debate, if you will, Blu-ray versus DVD. Is it really worth it?
Well, when you look at DVD versus VHS, which was the last big change that we had technology-wise, it was a pretty big upgrade. I mean, you no longer have to rewind your tapes. You now have a DVD menu, of bonus features that you can do. Keeping it on a CD is a lot better than on a tape, because you don't have to worry about tracking. The quality was a big upgrade. Blu-ray, the upgrade is I don't feel as big. You're going to see a lot more pixels. The color is going to be a lot more defined. HD quality definitely changes the way you watch movies. The sound quality is another thing that you have to note, that it upgrades as well. Especially if you have a surround sound system and a nice big TV.
Yeah, for the hardcore movie fan, yeah, I think it's definitely the way to go. For, I think, the more casual movie watcher, honestly, I think 1 out of 7, maybe 1 out of 8 movies really benefits from Blu-ray, really benefits from high definition. I think the vast majority of movies, it doesn't make enough of a difference to justify the expense in upgrading your entire movie collection.
So I guess it depends on the kind of films that you find yourself not watching in general, but specifically watching at home. And what I was thinking was, some people don't even have a high definition capable television. So to make the jump from Blu-ray doesn't just involve buying another one piece of hardware, like making the jump from VHS to DVD. In some cases, you have to shell out between $300 and $3,000 for
that's right. It's a
television,
major system upgrade,
just to buy something else to play these discs on. So
that's great, because that brings me to my next topic, Sam Dunn, which is the next versus is theater versus home theater. Which is actually the better experience? Which do people prefer, theater or home theater?
Well, if you have the money, and I've heard this from many different people, home theater is just going to be better than anything. If you any movie watching experience is going to be better if you're at your own home. But if you're willing to actually create a home theater with surround sound, possibly 3D Blu-ray, high definition TV, there is just nothing better than you can have. I mean, and theater just becomes harder and harder, because you got all kinds of people, you got lines, the concessions are expensive, people are talking at the screen and whatnot. The theater business has actually been losing money over the years, and it's possible that entire medium might become obsolete eventually.
Well, nowadays, that going to the movies, and this is reflective in advertising, and it's reflective in what movies are successful, going out to the movies is an event. You don't necessarily go out to see, it's the new Coen Brothers movies, I have to go see that. Mm-hmm. No, it's, look how many explosions. It's Transformers. We have to see Transformers on the big screen. We have to see Harry Potter. Mm-hmm. We have to see Twilight opening night before anybody else sees it. But they're really selling the event of seeing the movie first, seeing it on the big screen. They're not really selling the movie anymore. Yeah. For stories, for acting, all these things can be appreciated even more greatly at home, where you can pay attention to these details. And I think we'll see more of that. There's going to be more and more Green Lanterns and widely promoted garbage movies that have to make all their money back in the first weekend, as opposed to a lot more quieter, smaller films pretty much going directly to DVD, which we're already seeing a lot of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there are plenty of things on HBO or Showtime that are Hollywood quality, and some of them are big bang productions, and I don't feel like I'm missing anything having to watch them on a slightly smaller screen. Not to mention plenty of other Hollywood films. for me, I err on the side of the home theater for two reasons. One, I can yell things at the screen and people will be less mad at me. And two, I can pause to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's kind of where I land on this.
Yeah. Well, and you actually raise a great question, and you've actually answered my next question. TV versus movies. Which is better these days? And I think I heard you just say that you enjoy TV a lot more than movies.
Well, I might have to say that, but what I would say first is it's harder and harder to tell them apart. Not just because of production values and networks that have very few constraints, where even on cable now, as opposed to just the pay networks, you're seeing a lot of shows really push the envelope, whether it was The Shield in the recent past or shows like Breaking Bad now. When I look at all of the movie stars that are not just doing little story arcs on television, but starring in television series and being their anchors. Dustin Hoffman and Nick Nolte are coming soon. We got Claire Danes carrying a show right now. Not to mention all the folks on the networks. So it's harder and harder to tell them apart these days.
Well, and especially right now with the new season, the new fall season, you got a show. Christina Ricci is leading a show.
Yeah, Pan Am.
Called Pan Am. You got Two Broke Girls, starring the girl who was in 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Kat Dennings.
Kat Dennings. She was also in Nick and Nora. His Infinite Playlist. So Zooey Deschanel has her own show called The New Girl on NBC. TV's becoming so big that you're able to get those big movie stars to try TV shows.
Yeah, and look at Rob Lowe. He suddenly found himself in television after making his money.
There's a freedom, I think, to the time that they have for a TV show. You have many episodes playing out over a season. You can go into a lot more depth with these characters. So I'm not too surprised that a lot of big screen actors are going to the small screen. I think they can have more freedom to do quality acting work and develop these characters. There's a show that's currently on hiatus called Breaking Bad, starring a man named Bryan Cranston. And I would put his performance in Breaking Bad on this last season, I would put it up against any dramatic performance from any major motion picture. He's that good. And he's this good week after week after week. And we're seeing more and more of this in TV shows. They're really allowing quality work that we're not seeing in movies. I'm personally, I look forward to more TV shows every week than I do movies.
I think it's from a writing perspective, it seems like it would be so much easier to change a novel into a TV series than into a movie. A lot of the biggest blockbuster movies today that are based off book series are Harry Potter and Twilight, and they're already starting to break them up into two different parts because it's so hard to get that much material just in 2 to 3 hours. Everything just seems so fast paced, yet when you're reading the novel, they have the time to put the detail in. That's why we see so many shows that are popular right now that are based off of book series. True Blood is based off the Sookie Stackhouse novels. Dexter is based off a book series called Darkly Dreaming Dexter. Game of Thrones is based off a book series.
Walking Dead.
Walking Dead is based off of a graphic novel series. These are all very popular shows right now, and it's always easier to adapt them into a show because at the end of each chapter in a novel, you get a really great cliffhanger that makes you want to keep reading and not put the book down. And they're able to put that same cliffhanger in show form because each episode is a chapter in the book, and each book is a book in the book series. Game of Thrones is about to start its second season. I think they're going to go up to about 7 books in that one, so they have a long way to go. How different would it be if they did that with Twilight and Harry Potter? What if they turned those into a TV series and had each chapter? They're already starting to break things apart. It seems like they can make more money off of it. Would there be more money in the TV series?
Well, in 20 or 30 years, will that be what they do with these things so they can come back and cash in on them, sort of tell the story again?
Exactly.
Yeah, that would be almost a different sort of sequel, which brings me to my next topic, which is, it seems like in the last few years, sequels aren't that bad. Sequels used to have a pretty bad rap. Now there are a lot of quality sequels, especially in the last few months. Off the top of my head, Fast Five, which was the best film in the series, and how many series can say that their 5th entry was their best one? Transformers has just given its most respectable showing as a sci-fi action movie with Transformers 3. It really blew up the first two, although honestly that's not saying much.
Well, things blow up a lot in those movies, I'm told.
But with sequels not being so bad anymore, what is the new bad guy? What is worse, prequels or remakes? I would be hard-pressed to name a very good prequel. And there are more and more and more unnecessary remakes happening every year. Which are you more sick of?
Well, it seems like every time somebody says, "Oh, well, here we get to see the beginning of the story, how this character that you love becomes, this character that you love," I'm immediately turned off. Darth Vader, I did not want to see him.
They ruined Darth Vader forever.
Yes.
It took them 3 movies to destroy the legacy of who was unassailably the greatest screen villain ever, and now he doesn't even rate in my top 10. They completely wussed him out. It was a very damaging prequel.
They did the same thing to Hannibal Lecter. They gave him a movie called Hannibal Rising, where you get to see how this young person becomes the cannibal we know and love. It's just it's bad news. Sometimes when they think about reviving old movies that have brand names, they got to figure out the best way to do it. Ridley Scott's trying to do it in 2 different ways. Possible prequel or sequel to the original Alien that he made, and possible prequel or sequel to his original movie Blade Runner.
Not sure how I feel about that, Patrick.
So is this officially going to be a prequel to Blade Runner that he's considering doing?
I'm not sure where we're landing on the continuity on the Alien side of things, but I am aware that it has been all but confirmed that there will be a Ridley Scott prequel in the Blade Runner universe that will have none of the original cast members from the iconic early 80s sci-fi masterpiece, of which there are about 5 versions that I know of. But it will be a prequel in the Blade Runner mythos. Ridley Scott has confirmed that.
Why is it that you're not looking forward to something like that?
Well, for me, it's kind of like what you guys said, where you have a continuity, you have a universe that's. It's not just that it is beloved; it is beloved and has been beloved for the same way for long enough to where changing it in any way at all, whether or not it makes it worse, sort of messes with a good thing. The whole "if it ain't broke, don't fix it." But it also can make it worse. Where we retroactively change our opinions of things that were amazing because we have these other considerations. And with a movie that's as great as Blade Runner, and that has really stood the test of time, even though it's got some of the sound is kind of cheesy looking back.
But it should be left alone.
Yeah, even if it turns out to be good, why are we going back, especially after all this time?
The fundamental problem with that and every other prequel that I can think of, and as much as I dislike remakes, I dislike prequels even more for this reason. In the original film, no matter what that film is, we have seen the story, and we see the story come to an end. In a sequel, they continue the story, even if it's in a bad way. In the prequel, no matter what prequel it is, they say, all right, you already know the ending, you already know the story. We're going to go back and tell you something that you already figured out based on what you've already seen. There can never be a surprise in a prequel because you know how the story ends. If the main character of the movie is also in the prequel, you know that he lives and that nothing bad will happen to him because you've already seen the end of the story. You know that he's okay. It makes it very hard to make an effective prequel because it's just wasting our time. There's absolutely no way to be surprised by a prequel. It's the most desperate way to cash in on a franchise and make money off it.
Which begs the question, what is it about prequels that why did they even get started? Why did was there a demand for this? I'd like to know, if there's anyone listening that really gets excited when they hear about a new prequel coming out. Why is that? Send us an email at govideogainesville.com. Tell us.
Or NATEFLIX at Twitter, or look for us on Facebook, Go Video or NATEFLIX on Facebook.
Or you can stand on your roof and shout very loud. I'm actually going up to the roof right now, so I will be listening.
All right, that's all for this morning. Thanks for joining us on NATEFLIX. We'll be back next week. So many great new movies to talk about, and as always, we're going to talk about a bunch of great and terrible old movies. Bye.
Later.